I have a friend that works at Marvel, and they were we were talking one day about like what you were saying earlier about some of the stuff that are in these IPs that are kind of dead. And there is an entire section of Star Wars that Disney probably will never touch or never use, that certain companies could come in and buy that, and it will not be a canon, but it will have the same Star Wars name on it. I know that sounds confusing and weird or something. It's kind of like
they
Sony
license
owning
it out. Yeah.
kind of like Sony owning Spider-Man, and
Right.
then they loan him to the MCU, something like that. So there's a lot of like stuff in the EU.
You're talking about licensing, is that right, Jay?
Yeah.
Yes, that they can sell because they know they're not going to do anything
right,
with
okay.
it. That's not going to affect Rey and this Skywalker thing. And we're talking about characters that a lot of people don't even know exist in Star Wars to start with, that they could sell off to people to make movies or books or I mean, a line of things that Disney would still get a percentage of.
Yep.
And, you know, but all I was saying, like on my live stream, is that if they're open to listening to suggestions and things don't turn around quickly, like you said, 5 years down the road, they could throw the flag out and say, hey, well, if we were to sell something, you know, what would anybody offer it? Something like that. So that's all. That's where I was coming from. That I believe that is those type of things are on the table.
Mm-hmm.
But I could be dead wrong. But my friend that was over at Marvel was like, yeah, they're looking to license a lot of stuff out that they know that they're not going to use, with characters that many people don't even know. It's also like this weird deal that WDW Pro might. I'm sure he understands, and you understand it too, Valiant Renegade. When you go to Universal Studios in Orlando, they have a Marvel World, so they have that contract. They also have the Simpsons Land, which is owned by Disney, and some of those things.
Oh, yeah.
They have half of Disney's best stuff in Universal.
Yeah, and so like a lot of these things are going to start crossing the streams.
I like that.
Jay, any chance that you mentioned that they might be interested in selling the licensing rights to parts of Star Wars? Any chance we can get through your contacts, or maybe I don't know, maybe Mike has some great contacts, but any chance we could get them to sell the High Republic to Uzbekistan, or maybe Uruguay, somewhere that really has a low chance of translating to English?
Yes, I have a brother who would be perfect to play Geode.
I'll get right on that.
Pro completely missed the news article. Okay, let me breaking news here, folks. So following the Super Bowl here next weekend, when they send out the losers T-shirts and hats to Zimbabwe, they're sending High Republic books with it. Okay, so there we go. I spoiled the surprise. That was the whole show right there. We can close out. No, I'm kidding. So no, Jay, just for clarity, and I think, look, what you're saying makes total sense to me. Right? Is that now? I'm assuming that you mean like they're going to take some characters that they feel like, or some pieces of Star Wars they feel like they'll never touch, and then license out. What exactly do you think? We're talking about book rights, movie rights, TV rights. What you think?
Probably a little bit of both.
Okay,
but they would still get a percentage of, you know, of course that's how they would work it. Just like every time.
They're gonna. So whoever's going to do it is going to have to stroke a licensing check that's going to be tens of millions.
Every time they use Spider-Man, Sony gets paid, so it's like they don't even have to do anything at this point. So, but it wouldn't surprise me if a studio decided they wanted to take a chance and just do a story on something that. I say EU, but it's kind of like that, you know, that's part of their library that they have, and they're just like, hey, can we use this? And I don't know if it would be something huge like a blockbuster film, but it could be something smaller, like you said, like something on Netflix, something on a streaming where they're like, we could put a story together, but they're allowed to use that Star Wars name.
Yep. So
you know,
Jay,
and kind of slap it on there. That's what I was saying. I agree with everything you guys are saying, and
well, I guess I got two questions for Jay when we're done.
Yeah, but for them to sell Star Wars outright, there would have to be a collapse of something.
Yeah, well, more than what's already collapsed. But I was going to say real quick, and then Pro, I want you to ask your questions. I was going to simply say that there is a template for that already, guys. That's exactly what happened with Daredevil, with Netflix, And with all the associated properties, we had Iron Fist, and we had Luke Cage, and what was the other one? I just drew a blank. The girl.
Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones, thank you. I just blanked out there. So we already have a template for that, right? And then Disney spent, what did they? It was an enormous amount of money. It was tens of millions of dollars, if not more, maybe in the $100 million range, that they had to buy out that contract from Netflix early. Remember, to bring all that stuff back to Disney Plus, to get everything back early. Because they wanted to, they said, like, look, we want to end this contract sooner. So, and I think that was a bad decision, honestly, Disney's part, because we know they're going to screw all those characters up now. We've already seen it with Charlie Cox. But, I mean, this is the kind of same thing. That template is already there. That die's already cast. There's no reason they couldn't then farm some of this out in a licensing contract to a third party like a Netflix or anybody else. So, I agree with you, Jay.
All right. So, Jay, I just want you to know I wasn't coming at you at the beginning of this video once my chipmunk voice was gone and I was able to actually talk.
It was just a joke.
But the reason that I brought that up straight off the bat is because it was brought to my attention in some back channels that Pablo Hidalgo, our good friend who we've chatted with on many an occasion, but Pablo Hidalgo was dunking on some kind of article that's out there or somebody who had said something. I don't know where this came from.
It came from my tweet.
Oh, okay. Well, then I guess I am coming at you on accident. But
yeah, no, okay. If you follow me
on
Twitter,
Pablo was dunking on it, and so the reason I had to do that is I thought, you know what, I don't want to get into a situation where Pablo Hidalgo uses that, you know, and I'm sure he's taking you out of context and missing the joke and all of that, or missing that you're talking about licensing. But we can't have a situation where he's out there dunking on everybody and making the whole thing look like it's buffoonery. Anyway.
No, I put out a tweet. I quote tweeted an article and I said, so does anybody want to buy Star Wars? And unfortunately, some people kind of, it went, every time I tweet something out, like ever since the Gina episodes, a lot of people put that stuff into articles. If you type in my Twitter and like Google some of the stuff, you'll see like news articles of tweets where they were complete jokes, and yet they've made articles out of them. And I'm like, oh, dear God. And this was another one that just happened to, like, people were sending me stuff. They're like, you know, this person wrote an article on this person. I was like, dear God. And
so what you're saying is
that
Gina Carano is your friend at Marvel, which means she's going to be in the MCU.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're going to break that here tonight.
Right.
I think what I heard, based on my reading of the Bloomberg article that just came out, is that Anthony Daniels, in an intoxicated state, offered to sell Star Wars on behalf of Disney. I think that's what happened. That's pretty much the journalism that happened tonight.